were the most highly trained specialists in urban warfare that Germany had. Now we fast forward to Gaza, that's been bombed into oblivion. Again, let's understand that Hamas knows what they want to happen. Hamas has has prepared the battlefield. The battlefield is exactly what Hamas wants it to be. They have trained for this. They are ready for this. Israel, on the other hand, has mobilized 300,000 reservists who are not trained for this, who are not motivated for this. These are people who were pulled out of their soft civilian life and have been called in to engage in the deadliest form of combat known to man. Now, when you do urban warfare, especially in the modern environment, you have to wear full combat equipment. That we're talking 50, 60, 70 pounds, depending on what you're doing. If you've been a civilian and you've been sitting in an office eating donuts, drinking coffee, partying at night, all that, and now you're taken out of that life and you're told, here, put on this combat kit and you're going in, you're going to die. Because what's going to happen is you're going to run 100 meters, you're going to have a heart attack and die. And if you don't have a heart attack and die, you're going to be hyperventilating. You're going to forget your tactical common sense. And the Hamas fighter who has been training for this is going to pop up, pop 3 rounds in your head, pop down, disappear, and you're dead. Probably your other friends are dead too, because you're fat, no good, useless soldiers. That's the reality of the Israeli army today. They have a handful of units that have some capabilities, but they're not that great to begin with. The Israeli army just isn't that good. That's one of the things that happened on October 7th, is that Hamas proved that the Israeli army just isn't that good. They also proved that Israeli intelligence isn't that good. Now, to go to war in an urban environment, you need at least 2 things. You need a very good army. Israel doesn't have one. And you need really good intelligence about where the enemy is. They obviously don't know a damn thing about Hamas. If they did, this wouldn't have happened. They know nothing. They are literally blind. So they are not going to carry out an assault on Gaza, because they cannot carry out an assault on Gaza. They will be slaughtered if they carry out an assault on Gaza. And this is what the United States has stepped in and said, don't do it. And there's another reason why, because even if political figures, and remember, the politicians today that are sounding so brave and so fierce, they're the ones that created October 7th. It was their incompetence that created October 7th. The Israeli public doesn't trust them anymore, and they will be replaced. But they are desperate not to be replaced. That's one thing all politicians have in common, is they don't want to leave office. And so Netanyahu and his cabinet of right-wing fanatics do not want to be kicked out. So they are talking strong, and they are speaking of going into Gaza, and they may override the concerns of the military. And remember, the senior military officers are also fools, idiots, who caused this problem. The chief of staff, the minister of defense, all of these bigwigs are incompetent. They are incompetent. They should be relieved. Some of them should be shot for what they've done or failed to do. But now they're talking tough because they're trying to save their reputations. And they're going to save their reputations by sacrificing thousands of Israeli soldiers who are not prepared for this battle. And here's the dangerous part, because frankly speaking, I don't care about fat Israeli reservists that go into Gaza. May they all die. That's a decision they made and their governments made. If they want to sacrifice themselves on that hill, so be it. Not my concern. But my problem is if they go in, because in Gaza will be civilians, and the Israelis have already said that they'll treat anything that moves as a Hamas supporter and they will kill it. So the million women and children and men who are in Gaza, who have survived the bombings, will be slaughtered by the Israelis. Not Hamas, but the innocent Palestinians will be slaughtered. And this will be too much for Hezbollah and Iran to take, and they will intervene. And now we have a general war, and that's my problem. I care about that. I don't care anymore. I told you, I used to be a friend of Israel. I used to train side by side with the Israeli force, not train, operate. We weren't training. We were doing real world stuff with the Israeli forces. They were my friends, and I considered them to be my allies. Not anymore. I not only don't care about them, I want them to lose, because only by losing can we break the paradigm of control that they've had over the Middle East peace process. Because there is no Middle East peace. There has never been Middle East peace, and there will never be Middle East peace so long as there is political Zionism in place. Political Zionism must be defeated. It must be defeated politically, and it must be defeated militarily. And so I pray for Israel's defeat, not the strategic defeat where everybody's killed. No, but I want Israel to recognize that they are not supermen. They are not exceptional. They are humans just like everybody else, that they bleed just like everybody else. There is no such thing as Israeli exceptionalism. I know they consider themselves to be God's chosen, but they're not. They're not. They're just like you and I. In fact, they're worse because they believe in their supremacy, but they don't have the ability to act on that. So I pray for Israel's defeat on the battlefield because we need them to be defeated so that we can change the dynamic that existed under the Abrams Accord, where Israel was ready to normalize relations with the Arab world and the Palestinian people were forgotten. Now the Palestinian people aren't forgotten. They're there. And we need them to get their own homeland. We need the Palestinian people to get their own state. And this is the time to do it. It can only happen with Israel losing. So I pray for Israel to be defeated. But I can't support Israeli action that enlarges this conflict, that brings down Hezbollah and Iran. Not because I'm concerned about Hezbollah and Iran killing Israeli soldiers, kill them all. And I hate to be this blunt about it, but Israel is on the wrong side of history right here. There's nothing good that can be said about Israel today. Listen to the statements of Israeli politicians and Israeli soldiers. These are hate-filled statements where they call the Palestinians animals, and their actions that are derived from these statements are genocidal, literally the definition of genocide, and it's being ignored by the United States and the West. So we need the Israeli army to be destroyed, to be eliminated, to suffer a defeat. But it can't be done in a way that brings everybody else down. But that is the Israeli mindset, the Samson option, they call it. Now, that's normally attached to their nuclear deterrence, meaning that if it looks like Israel is going to be destroyed, that they will kill everybody with their nuclear weapons. But it's also just a mindset that says, if we can't live the way we want to live, we will bring everybody down with us, which tells you right off the bat that Israel is the greatest threat to peace and security in the world today. Israel, as it's currently manifested, the political Zionism of Israel is the single greatest threat to international peace and security, and it must be defeated. But that defeat has to be modulated, so to speak, by a desire for something after this fighting. This means that Israel must be allowed to exist. There must be a homeland for Jewish people in the homeland, in the Holy Land, where they can live in peace and security with their neighbors. But they live as equals. The day of Israeli exceptionalism is over. The day where America throws in billions of dollars to guarantee Israeli technological supremacy is over. Israel cannot be superior to any of its neighbors. It can be equal to its neighbors, and that's it. That's the future. And you know who we get to thank for making this possible? Hamas. Because if it weren't for what they did on October 7th, we'd be in a situation where Palestine was forgotten. The Palestinian people would never have a homeland.
How come the Israeli intelligence, which we know is one of the best, can be so blind about Hamas?
Well, let's first of all take a step back. Israeli Mossad, first of all, the problem of Hamas and its military capability is not the problem of Mossad. It's the problem of Amman, military intelligence. But both of those, when you bring them together, it's Israeli intelligence. And you said something interesting. We know they are the best in the world. They aren't the best in the world. Israel is a very small country with very limited capabilities.